talk about is that it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, so correct me, that you've become more political in the last several years. Is that something to do with how your career has moved from straight genre into drama, or is it because you feel there's more urgency? What has motivated you? I see you're tweeting more and really speaking candidly about the state of things.
You know, I spent so much time as a young guy worrying about, you know, when the next gig was going to come and how I was doing and comparing myself to some arbitrary idea of where I should be, what I should have accomplished and stuff. But with the passing of time, those things kind of melted away, and the world became more fascinating to me. The world that I lived in became more fascinating to me. I feel as though probably the Bush years were the ones where I became more engaged because of the operatic nature of the tone of things during those years. That things were either way off or way off during those years, and it was almost like an assault against logic and reason and decency that I became kind of, I hate to use the word woke because I hate to use words that seem to be passing fancies. Woke seems to be the trending word right now, but I got awoken to the fact that we all have a stake in the world in which we live, and that more than I even realized that I had a kind of an intrinsic compass of what Americanism was supposed to look and feel like, and what about it was beautiful, and what about it was exceptional, and what about it was exemplary. And the assault on those things were the things that probably got me more and more involved in deciding what my position was on things.
It was Bush, but it was also the persecution of Clinton.
Basically, our Congress at that point, in trying to claim some more upper morality position, like, you know, we have the market cornered on Christianism and morality and family values. And all these guys were as far from being spiritually exemplary as you could possibly be. All of them have mistresses. All of them are like into big pharma and big insurance company. You know, all of them are on the take. But they have this kind of facade, and that's what probably woke me up, and I think what you're referring to as well. You know, they went after Clinton in a way that was jarring and offensive.
And then we had the assault on Obama, which just seemed to up the ante.
What in the world gave way to the unbridled, angry, raw, sick, twisted thing that they called the Tea Party, where the moral high ground that they were claiming had something to do with deficits?
Yeah.
As if Obama, who'd been in office for about 30 seconds, was responsible for the $18 trillion that we owed the Chinese. I mean, where were you when we were running up those deficits?
And the war we didn't pay for.
How come you just showed up when there happened to be a black guy living in a White House?
Yeah.
That was probably the thing that where, you know, I mean, it was a series of things that got my attention and that made me feel as though there are two Americas. There are at least two Americas, but there are two that are in stark contrast to one another, and made me examine like what it was that was so offensive about the one that I didn't relate to, and what was rooted in it, and how dangerous I thought it was, and how divisive I thought it was. So little by little, I'm starting to become a political entity. You know, not because I decided to be one day, but it was a very kind of a gradual, slow burn, and it was maybe because my kids were starting to get to an age where I realized that these are going to be adults in the world who are going to be driving a car. They're interracial, product of an interracial marriage. My son, who'd been driving for 3 or 4 years, had already been stopped by the cops 900 times more than I had in my entire driving life. And I'm going to myself, if I don't get involved in trying to figure out how twisted and fucked up all this shit is, then I have nobody to blame but myself. What troubles me the most is this pendulum thing. You know, when you consider that Obama left with a north of 60% approval rating, but for some strange reason, we needed to go all the way over here and elect something that was so the opposite. And Obama was a response to Bush. So it's almost as if the voting public just wants what they don't have. It doesn't matter what it is. Just they're always looking to change dramatically because of the disconnect that they're feeling to the establishment. And so whatever it was that came last, they want the opposite. Every one of our greatest institutions is under siege. The NSA, the intelligence agencies, he has no respect for them, no regard for them. He throws them under the bus repeatedly. He hires people to run the EPA that hate the environment, that are climate deniers. He hires people to run the education that you know, have zero true north compass about the proper way to educate children, and are completely, you know, bereft of anything other than what is going to benefit themselves. So public service is being confused with self-service. We're as close to an authoritarian kind of a reality as we've ever come, and every single thinking person will agree with that. That if you don't take a side and you don't do what you can in order to ameliorate what could end up spinning out and being a very dangerous situation with a guy who makes decisions, every decision he's ever made was purely for his brand. There is no Americanism to any decision he makes. So if he decides that bombing North Korea is going to benefit the flow of his popularity, that's what he's fucking going to do. Is that any way that we who are the stewards of this earth should behave? We've now identified that there are two Americas, and now that the toothpaste is out of the tube, what scares the shit out of me the most is there's no going back, and I don't know how that's going to end.
How would you rebut the easy critique that when celebrities take a stand, people who don't agree with that stand love to just diminish, well, they're just a celebrity, why should we listen to them? They're merely actors and so on. What is your rebuttal to that? Well,
I get that. That's what I get whenever I post anything that offends a lot of people who happen to follow me. Their first response is, hey, you're an actor, shut the fuck up, just do your job. Who the fuck are you? You live in a bubble, you have more money than you know what to do with, you have no idea what it's like to walk in my shoes, and shut the fuck up. And sometimes it gets even more violent than that, where, you know, like, I'm gonna make sure I boycott all of your movies and tell all my friends, you know. I mean, you know, people really want to, you know, be activists in their hatred of somebody like me who dares to have an opinion. But here's the fucking deal, man. Get the fuck over it. I mean, I'm 67 years old. I'm basically retired for I'm telling this to the camera. I'm basically retired for the last 2 years. Everything I do in show business is gravy. I don't give a fuck if you see my shit or don't see my shit. I'm a citizen of this country. I have 2 kids. I'm not rich. I made a good living. I'm okay. I will never be affected if Trump care passes or not. In fact, I'll get a tax credit out of it. I'm fighting for you guys. That, like, you're going to get fucked if Trump care goes through. You're going to lose everything. And you know, if you think I don't have a voice in saying anything, just dig the fact that you voted in a fucking clown who had a fucking reality show that was a piece of shit reality show, not even a good one. And he's a fucking, look at just the way he combs his hair. And you're going to tell me I have no right as an actor to have an opinion? Fuck you. Fuck you. Anything else?
Well, that's disconnects for you.
I don't give a shit about acting. I don't give a shit about my career. I don't give a shit if anybody sees my shit or doesn't see my shit. It doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to keep working. I'm still going to keep making a living, or I'm not. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the reality that I hand over to my kids. If you don't take a stand, I got no use for you.